Moin. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Mace. I'm coming to you from Western Canada. I'm just amateur, completely amateur, not a professional, mind you. Not a professional. Today's video title, The German Military Will Become Europe's Most Powerful. Here's why. This time on 22 minutes. Let's find out. German military is pretty substantial, I believe. I'm sure it doesn't come in comparison to... Sometimes it's hard to even fathom like how much money the United States spends on their military. It's huge amounts of money. Canadian military, it's a good career. I know people that have gone into the Canadian military have great careers. We have a base here nearby. The Trudeau government actually, speaking of guns and war and military, the government been buying back firearms to, get this, send to Ukraine so Ukraine can use the firearms. So buyback program, buy weapons back from Canadians, send them overseas to Ukraine. All right, let's get to this. The German military.
Fighter jets and helicopters that don't fly. Standard fighter jets and helicopters that don't fly. Standard issue assault rifles that don't shoot straight. And shortages in ammunition, boots, and even underwear during a NATO mission in Lithuania. These are the headlines that the once feared German military are currently making. Not to mention the hundreds of millions of euros that went to consultants in an effort to clean up the army's mess, with very little to show for it. German high-ranking officials are raising their concerns, and so are NATO allies, where statements such as these are not uncommon. Ever since the Cold War ended in 1991, Germany has allowed its military to deteriorate. And this is somewhat understandable, as Germany was busy integrating the West with the East, which posed great economic and social challenges. Over the last 30 years, there was simply very little incentive to have a powerful military, as Germany doesn't share a border with potential aggressors like Russia. NATO, and especially the US, was there for protection, and unlike the US and the UK, Germany had very few overseas commitments, and there was very little appetite for a large military among the population, who still remember the horrors of World War II. But now, overnight, everything has changed. Only 3 days after the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the German Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, made a shocking announcement, declaring that Germany will massively increase its defense spending and meet the 2% NATO benchmark. This was met by applause in Parliament, and surveys already show that 75% of Germans support this decision.
So as a direct result of Putin going into Ukraine.
But how significant is this increase? Let's have a look at defense spending across the globe last year in 2021.
The United States, $778 billion, just dwarfs. The next highest is $252 million from China. And then India 72, and then it starts going down from there. Wow. Percentage of GDP, 3.7%.
As you can see, Germany spent $52.8 billion, sitting at 7th in the world ranking list, slightly ahead of France, but significantly behind the...
I didn't see if Canada was on the list. Probably not. Let's see.
2021. As you can... Let's have a look at defense spending.
Canada, 14, $20 billion. Okay.
Across the globe, billion dollars, sitting at 7th in the world ranking list, slightly ahead of France, but significantly behind the UK and Russia. But if we compare percentage of GDP, Germany ranks much lower. Of the 20 biggest military spenders, Germany comes in 15th, as they only spend 1.4% of their GDP on their army. Many have criticized this lack of spending, as it is far below the NATO target of 2%. However, once Germany hits the 2% target, things will look very different. Because of Germany's strong economy, military expenditure would rise to $76.12 billion, putting Germany into 3rd place, ahead of Russia and the UK, making them the frontrunner within the EU and Europe by quite some distance. And German politics...
It is like insane, like the amounts of money that countries are spending on military, which you need a military. Hey, I'm definitely no expert in geopolitics and stuff like that, but
politicians have said as much, clearly stating that this is the intent. And it doesn't stop here. In an effort to modernize the military more quickly, Olaf Scholz has also dedicated a one-time special fund of over 100 billion euros to German defense. This is a lot of money.
Dang.
But spend doesn't necessarily equal military might. The UK, France, and Russia are still far ahead when it comes to military strength. Here we can see the comparison between these nations. While Germany does have a significant number of soldiers, aircraft, and tanks, it only has a very small presence on the sea. France and the UK do have a considerable navy, with multiple destroyers, submarines, and even 3 aircraft carriers in between them. And well, then there's Russia, who just has a lot of everything. As for nuclear weapons, in the aftermath of
70 submarines? Damn, Vladimir. Sending those subs around.
World War II, it was agreed that Germany cannot possess nuclear, biological, or chemical weapons. However, this comparison is somewhat incomplete and flawed, as it does not take into account military modernization, high-tech weapons, logistics, military experience, and intelligence. Whether Germany will become a military superpower also depends on how the money is spent.
Yeah, like drones and intelligence, or I think more and more important, like then boots on the ground, soldiers on the ground. They're just going to be using drones and doing drone strikes. And
Scholz has already hinted at a high-level tech wish list, such as the F-35 fighter to replace older Tornado aircraft from the 1970s, the Future Combat Air System, which is developing together with France, heavy transport helicopters, modernization of air defense missile systems, armed drones, modern warships, etc. However, as mentioned at the start of the video, Germany still seems to be getting the basics wrong. Only around 40% of helicopters and 65% of tanks are operational. And it gets even worse.
So they're just too old, or the maintenance isn't being kept up, or they just don't have the money to keep them operational, I guess.
A German parliamentary report found that only 50% of major military hardware is working properly. Therefore, money needs to be spent in getting existing equipment up and running first. And as you may remember from the start of the video, the German Bundeswehr has the reputation of wasting taxpayers' money. So, will Germany become the new European superpower? Possibly, but not until Germany cleans up its current mess and invests the new budget wisely. But next to the world's superpowers, such as the US and China, even with Germany's new budget, it remains a small player, as it spends way too little. And this really raises the question, does an EU army make sense? Check out the videos below to see the reasons for and against an EU army.
An EU army. Sounds like something Palpatine would come up with. Interesting video, man. Seems like the video is not positing that Germany will become Europe's most powerful. In the video, it even says maybe. They're going to spend, they're definitely increasing their spending, their military budget to bolster, get larger, and be a bigger player within that European sphere. It's interesting stuff, man. Like, the amounts of money is basically just for normal people unfathomable, and like how it all works. So interesting stuff. See you on the next one, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the video, and